Alright, there's 200 watts of solar installed. Time to finish packing and get on the road. The intent of this channel is if you're handy and you don't have unlimited funds or want to go out and finance a very expensive RV and you want to get out there and camp anyways, our intention is to show you how to take something that could be very inexpensive because it needs some work, and using that opportunity to get you out there camping and enjoy it. Everything I'm showing you is either stuff I've done for the first time or done as a result of getting our own projects set up the way we want them. So like, subscribe, follow along, enjoy. It's going to be fun, entertaining, and hopefully educational. Alright folks, it's about 20 hours away from our departure time for vacation. Yesterday I managed to get the rear canopy mounted off the back of the camper. Today I'm going to try and get the solar panels installed on the roof. So the whole point of the solar panels is we plan on doing a lot of boondocking, maybe some Harvest Host stuff that doesn't have hookups, and we just want to replenish the battery with the power of the sun. So the way we're going to try and offset expenses for this trip and make up for the $5.50 per gallon for fuel is to try to be a little more conservative in our spending in terms of accommodations. So one of the ways to use Harvest Host, and one way is some of the places we're going actually offers camping for a very reasonable cost or no cost. So between that and saving money on food and things like that, we're still hoping to go on a nice vacation and not hurt so bad in the pocket in terms of fuel cost. Alright, let's get to work on the solar system. Alright folks, we're going to install 200 watts of solar on the roof of our camper. We're using a Renowgy system from Amazon. None of this is sponsored. This is the first time I've ever done solar on a camper. The only thing I've done similar is on our sailboat, and that was one 100 watt panel to a charge controller. So alright, follow along, learn with me. Alright, what we did was we bought a Renowgy system. It's 200 watts, 2 panels. It was just slightly more money than the 100 watt system from Harbor Freight, and it seemed as though these had a little more integrity. Comes with the charge controller and the cabling. I hope there's enough cabling to do what I want to do. We had a similar setup on our sailboat and it worked great maintaining the battery, so we're doubling our wattage here. If I have time, I'll get both panels up. If not, I'll put one panel up and have the ability to add the second one later on. So let's unbox this thing and see what it's all about. So here's the 2 panels, the charge controller and the cabling, and the instructions are in that box. And I'll give you the measurements of these 2 panels in just a moment. Alright, so these panels are 42 by 21, and there is on our Sunline Solaris, it's a 2380. There's a spot right behind the air conditioner that both of these panels are going to go, I hope. So let's see how we make out on that. So now I'll take apart the package that comes with all the hardware, and I got to come up with a scheme on mounting. And then secondly, I need to make sure that I got enough cabling to reach from these connectors down to our control center for the power in the camper. So one of the reasons again why I went with this particular kit is I believe it comes with enough cabling to do what we want to do. The charge controller is actually a pretty nice one. It's better than one of the eBay ones that we had before. However, I don't have any experience using it yet, but we'll figure it out and we'll let you know. And it comes with a box of aluminum mounting hardware to engage with the framework. So what I'm going to do is temporarily connect these and see what I have for cabling and see if they're going to be long enough to reach where I need it to go. Alright, one thing I was extremely happy to find is that this system is going to be for a 12-volt system, and in order for two solar panels to output 12 volts, this one puts out 12, that one puts out 12, you have to wire them in parallel. Well, it comes with the parallel. In other words, the two negatives are hooked together to the negative to the controller. The two positives are hooked together to the controller. That's parallel. So the total output voltage remains 12 volts, and the wattage is times 2, 100 plus 100. So it comes with 20 feet of cabling, and the solar panel is marked on the controller plus and minus, so you got to make sure that you keep track of which one is which, and then it has plus and minus to the battery. So another real nice surprise is that this is plenty of cabling to get where I need to go from the roof down inside of the camper to hook to the controller, and then this is plenty of cabling to go from the controller to the power system in the camper. So, and I'll show you how all that goes. So I'm confident that this is going to work out. What I really need to work on right now is to get the structure on the roof to support these two panels, and that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So let me get to work on that. Alright folks, I'm up at the local scrapyard. I'm getting ready to mount solar panels on the roof of my camper, and I was really struggling to figure out how to do that. Well, I came across some of this aluminum extrusion, and I think it's going to work out great because it has a nice wide wheelbase and a nice height and an ability to do through fasteners. The solar panels have provision to bolt right onto this, so I think I'm going to grab 2 lengths of this. I need slightly more than 8 feet. These are 12 feet each. So I think I'll grab a pair of these and we'll see how we make out mounting solar panels on the roof of our 24-foot Sunline Solaris. Alright, all strapped on. Good thing I made my wind deflector foldable because my roof rack still isn't handy. So 19 bucks for 24 feet of aluminum extrusion. Let's go see if we can mount some solar panels. Alright, so I'm just kind of doing some layout here. This is the aluminum structure that's going to go across, and the roof has a bow in it to shed water. So I'm going to use the exact same material running parallel with the edge of the roof of the camper to raise it up 2 inches to miss the crown of the roof. I'll have that on both sides, and the support for that is going to run the full 42 inches for the solar panel to connect to. So I'm going to try and pick up the ceiling joists in the or roof trusses, whatever you want to call them. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to seal all the corners with the roofing tape where the structure is going to be screwed down. So that'll provide, first of all, some preventive maintenance for any issues that might happen as a result of the aging of the seals on the roof. Before I do that, I have to wash the areas that I'm going to put the tape down, and then I can start laying out the length of the material that I need to cut and run parallel with the edges of the roof. So I have a vent for the black and gray water system. so the solar panels will straddle that. And the plan is, because the wall that this comes through is the bathroom wall, and it happens to be a plumbing wall, so this comes through the wall, and then there's the plumbing for the shower, and 12 inches ahead of this is where the drop is going to be, and it'll be behind the paneling and between the tub and shower enclosure, so it'll drop down and it'll go right to where the controller is going to mount, and the access directly below where all this is happening is where the control center is for the power management system in the camper. So it couldn't really be a better position for all of this stuff. Alright, I got a lot of work to do. I'll keep you updated as I make progress. Alright, so while I'm waiting for the roof to dry before I put the tape down, doing my layout work to make sure my plan works, I need 40 inches from center to center, and I made a 48-inch long piece that goes across 1, 2, 3 ceiling trusses, except I'm 2 inches short on that piece there, so I actually have to run to the scrapyard and buy another length of that, so I end up with a 48-inch piece. But one panel will go just to the left of the gray water vent, and another one will go just to the right, probably be biased towards the center, and that actually gives us room for another if we need it. So alright, off to the scrapyard. Alright, while I'm waiting for the roof to dry, I'm gonna start putting the wiring in and the charge controller. I don't know if you can see it, but right there is the roof vent for the drain and waste system that goes up inside this wall. This is the back side of the tub enclosure, and this is the plumbing access here. So couldn't have worked out any better. This is the main 12 volt positive, and the 12 volt negative is the white wire down below. So the plan is, at a reasonable height here on the bathroom wall, I'm going to mount the charge controller. So the unsightly thing, other than the controller itself, is going to be I got to have 2 holes for the access of the cabling to come in from the solar panel and hook here, and then come out of here and go down to the main power center. And those wires will be inside the wall here. And there is a deflector here from the factory that in case there's a leak, it'll divert it. So the wiring will go to the outside of that and then come through one of the intended access points and tie right into the main power connections for the 12 volt. Alright, so I've marked out up on the roof where the 12 inch is, and 12 inches will put me like right about here. Then I'm going to, right now, I'm going to go ahead and mount this so I can map out where the hole for the charge controller goes. The only other option I have is maybe on this wall back here, but in the bedroom or in the garage. So I don't really have preference other than this would be an unobstructed wall, and you wouldn't see this. So maybe I will do this, depending on how much cabling I have. We'll see. What do you think? Here or here? Alright, so what I did was I marked both ends of what I'm going to use as the positive cable with red tape. There was no marking from the factory, and what I did determine is from the main power center up to where the controller would go on this wall, there's plenty of cable available. So I may actually mount this now, and again, I'm waiting for the roof to dry before I put the sealant on, and I can get it connected down there, and there really shouldn't be any problem snaking the wire from here down. And I need to put an access hole in here for the wires to come through, and once the wires come down from the roof, I'll be able to just reach in and grab them and pull them out and tie them into the charge controller. So I'm just going to mark this out. I'll mount the charge controller, and then I'll cut an access hole so the charge controller will actually cover that up, a larger hole than I need, and then I need to put the holes for the wire to come out and have a little service loop up into the charge controller. And later on I can make some sort of wooden trim so you don't see those wires, but that's probably not going to happen on this installation because we're about 16 hours away from heading out. Alright, I've got the red wire and the black wire ready to be connected. Just as a warning, folks, you should all disconnect both the 12 volt and the 110 power before working on this, taking that cover off. Otherwise, you stand to either do damage to yourself or the components of the camper. Alright, here goes nothing. I originally had marked the 12 inches and I changed the location of where the mounting of the controller is going. So I made this little tube that I'm going to drill into, and this will get butyl tape and neoprene tape to secure it and hold it in position, prevent the leaks, and then the wires can run over to whatever the connection may be. I want it facing rearward, obviously, so it's not going upwind, and then this will get plugged with butyl tape after the wires are loomed. Alright, I don't like drilling holes in the roof, but it's a necessary thing. Alright, I went through the roof structure and the ceiling, and hopefully when I feed the wires through they'll be down there. So my first step is going to be to load this hole up completely with butyl tape and then force this in around it, and then do the same thing, and then I'm going to put the neoprene tape all around it so it folds up around this elbow. So alright, let's get the roof sealed up. Alright, I haven't screwed anything down to the roof yet, but we've got the seams all sealed up. We've got an extra layer where the screws are going to attach the aluminum extrusion to the roof, and the only thing left to do now is grab a solar panel, put it up here, position it, bring a carpenter square up to make sure that it's as parallel and perpendicular as it can be, and then I can set the final length of the leads going down to the charge controller and start drilling the holes to match the holes in the solar panel themselves. Alright, there's one panel in place, and I've got the holes marked and drilled for the second panel. I'm going to go get that now, and the framework is connected to the rails parallel with the side of the camper. I just have to tighten everything up once all the bolts are in all of the panels and all of the struts. Get those tightened, and then the last step will be putting the butyl tape between the rails and the roof, and then putting the screws in to secure the whole mess in place. And then we just need to finalize the length of the wiring and plug that hole in the conduit. Alright, so I've got the wire dropped down through the roof, and as I said, this access port was just so I could reach in there and pull it out, and that was successful. So now I'll feed all the excess wire out. I'll cut it short, terminate it into the controller. The solar panels are already hooked up on the roof. Actually, before I hook those in, I'll tie the 12 volt system in to the main power center, and then we'll see if we get any blinky blinkies on here. So I just shortened these wires up, but I left them long enough so there'll be a little bit of a service loop in behind the wall, and the red is marked positive and the negative, and the last two wires get tied in there. But like I said, I'm going to tie in the 12 volts to the power center right now, and then I can cover all that back up and then terminate these two wires, and hopefully this thing will be up and running. Alright, we got it hooked up. According to the instructions, the flashing green is a good thing, and the all green means it's a sealed lead acid battery. And no magic blue smoke. So I'm gonna put the diverter back in, put the covers back on, and we can cross this one off the list. Alright, all back together. So far so good. Alright, there's 200 watts of solar installed. You saw the flashing green light on the control panel. She's up and running. There's a little more involved than I thought, only because my structure here that I made was quite a chore to assemble and attach the solar panels to the cross members. But we got it. Time to finish packing and get on the road. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you're with me this long, obviously you found it entertaining or interesting. So give me a thumbs up and the like button if you would, please. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next video.